Hey Chelsea, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for joining me on Open for Hire this week. I'm excited to dive into your experience. And since this is marketing happy hour, we do have to know your go-to happy hour drink. What is it?
Okay, this is a hard one. I I mean, I love an espresso martini, like with tequila,
Oh yeah.
which is just everywhere. But one of my like all-time favorite drinks is a honey lavender lemonade, which
Wow.
isn't super common, but anytime I see it on the menu, I'm like, I have to have that.
Oh
It's
my
so
gosh, that
good.
sounds amazing. I am in Michigan right now, up north, and there's like a lot of lavender fields up here. And my friends and I always go every single year, and there's always like a lavender lemonade mix or whatever. So
Yes,
I'm on the same page with you there. Um,
yes,
all
so
right,
good.
let's just dive in. Can you tell me a little bit about your career path so far? If you were in a job interview right now and the interviewer asked, tell me briefly about yourself, what would you say?
Yeah, so no, I've been very fortunate to have a great career path and meet so many amazing people along the way. What's funny is I actually started in college at Red Bull. I grew up in LA, so I was on the wings team, just passing out samples of Red Bull, and I absolutely loved not only the people I met, but the product and the company. So moved up within the company. Like I said, I'm from LA, so took a job at headquarters in Santa Monica doing the digital marketing and consumer sampling. And then I was like, I want to move. I will go anywhere. And they were like, okay, we're taking you to Louisville, Kentucky. And I was like, okay, that's maybe not where I saw myself, but it was so amazing. I was there for 2.5 years doing field marketing, on premise marketing, partnerships, so many different things. And then was ready for another change and got the opportunity to move to Austin, which is where I'm currently at. Worked for GT's Kombucha out here doing field marketing partnerships, PR, influencers, and then Dose and Co, which is a collagen powder. They had a US launch, so I was supporting them with their global community management strategies as well as influencer marketing. And for their launch, we partnered with like Khloe Kardashian. So it's a really impactful thing to like help launch a brand in the
Yeah.
US. So many different learnings there. And then my most recent position was at Anheuser-Busch, leading entertainment, influencers, and celebrity partnerships across a ton of brands within our portfolio. So a lot of experience. I will say, like, I feel like the past few years I've really honed in on like influencer and celebrity and brand partnerships, which I have been very passionate about and I've learned so much there. So yeah, it's been a good journey. Moved around a bit, and so now I'm in Austin and just seeing what's next.
That is so awesome. Yeah, we always encourage people when they're trying to figure out what their next step is in their career path, whether they've just graduated or have experienced something where they went through a job loss. We're always like, move, like go somewhere new, get
Yes.
some more experiences, like get some more, friends in different places. People in different areas, are different than you. So it's always nice to expose yourself to new places and new people. Highly recommend that
Yes.
always.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I think it's definitely scary, right? Especially when I moved to Louisville and Austin, not knowing anybody.
Yeah.
But that's the fun part. Now you have so many different connections. You get such a different experience. You also, from a marketing standpoint, understand how consumers think in different areas.
Right.
So, the person in Louisville is very different than LA, very different than Austin. So that exposure, I think, just really rounds you out within the marketing space.
Oh, absolutely. That's great. In your most recent role, though, what is something that is a valuable lesson you learned that you'll kind of take with you into whatever next role you hold?
Yeah, I think the one that I just recently learned, there's two ones, but the biggest one I'd say is to, like, you have to put yourself first and advocate for yourself. And I'm not saying in like a selfish way, but I'm saying you need to put your work and everything that you've accomplished in front of people, and you need to build those connections. So you may have a really great relationship with your team, and obviously depends on how big, the company is and all of that, but you might have an amazing relationship with your team, but how can you go beyond that? So how can you set up meetings with leadership or people in different roles that you may, occasionally work with cross functionally, but sharing out your wins and what you're working on is going to be so helpful, especially as you try to grow. So you may set up like a quick little chat with someone in a totally different department, you may bounce ideas around, and then that could also lead to great collaboration of, oh, hey, I know you're working on this project. How can we integrate like e-commerce, or how can we integrate retail sales? And it
Mhm.
just makes that project so much bigger and allows you to learn so much more, but also allows people to really be able to be like, oh, I have a position opening, or I
Right.
actually really want someone to help me with this. Chelsea would be great for that. Versus to the start of my career, I was kind of just like, okay, get your work done, do a great
Mhm.
job, and let the work speak for itself. But at the end of the day, there's so much going on. You really have to like
Totally.
put yourself like at the forefront, to not only get opportunities, but also to continue to learn. I think
Mhm.
one thing for me in my past role, I was like, I want to get into merch partnerships, which was not a responsibility of my team.
Mhm.
I started meeting with people within that space, and I was able to successfully help execute 2 merch partnerships, which is
So
such a
cool.
great learning. Yeah, but I wouldn't have had that if I didn't put myself out there in that way. They wouldn't
Right.
have like thought of me without me putting myself and pitching. So that's kind of a really big one that I learned. And I think that also can expand with outside of the company. So whether that's like LinkedIn, I'm currently working on like building a website portfolio right now. Sharing your wins on LinkedIn, I think is really great too, especially if, in a situation you are impacted by layoffs, cuts, or you're just looking for a new role. So that way it speaks beyond just a resume.
Completely agree with you, and that's how I found you, like, knowing that you were going to be on Open for
Yeah.
Hire. I was like, "I gotta get her on," because I have
Yeah.
seen all of your posts on LinkedIn, and I've admired everything that you've been up to, so, yeah, it definitely is all about relationships, and you foster those through, internal partnerships and things like that, and then also externally on, like you said, LinkedIn, social media, anywhere you can go that
Hmm.
you can kind of advocate for yourself and, get some new ideas going with other people is always a good thing. So,
Yes. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
All right, Chelsea, well, what inspired your recent job search? I saw your post on LinkedIn, but I'm just gonna let you speak for yourself.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I was impacted by the layoffs at Anheuser-Busch, which I feel like right now there's, widespread across so many different companies and fields. So while it is an unfortunate situation, I am just kind of trying to look at the bright side of things and really take my passion and my experience, to my next step. So I'm really excited for what is to come. And so, yeah, open to work as of last week. And I think one thing I'm just trying to be really intentional with my next role and what that is versus kind of just jumping on, the first thing. If it doesn't feel right, I really want my next position as I grow within my career. I feel like I'm in a very good space, just to continue that even further.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything that you're specifically looking for in a future role, like any dream companies you'd like to work for, any dream, titles or projects you'd like to work on?
Yeah, I want to continue within the partnership space. So I know, companies kind of have that laid out different, but whether that's like influencer, entertainment, merch, any type of partnership, I've like really honed in on some of those within my career. Some of them recently that I'm really proud of is like launching Low Sundays Tequila Seltzer in partnership with like Camille Caustic and
So
building
cool.
a long-term relationship there. Um, you know, Within the entertainment team at my company, we did some great like integrations with like movies and TV shows. So of course we had like product placement, but we worked on Stella Artois and the Bear. So that's like a full 360
Yeah.
partnership with the cast and crew, but also product integration, also, getting into events. So anything where I can like make people come together and like
Yeah.
build that experience is kind of what I'm looking for next. So obviously that influencer celebrity space, like I have a lot of work in, and I know the impact of influencers, and it's crazy, but it's an exciting space that's only continuing to grow. So I'd like to be within that field and also within a company that I can help grow versus that's
Mhm.
already so set and established. So helping make new strategies and new processes that are open to ideas and, um, kind of really flexible within that space as well.
Oh, I love that so much. There's so much opportunity in like the partnership and experiential space. We were talking earlier this year. I think our first episode this year actually was talking all about how it's going to be the year of brand partnerships. And that was before we saw all the
Hmm.
things happening with Barbie and like
Oh my
all
gosh,
of these
yes.
crazy collaborations that we've seen throughout like the summer even. So it's definitely been a really interesting space to watch. And I think that's such a fun space to be in. So that's awesome for you.
Yeah, it's Barbie is crazy. Like the
Oh, I know.
amount of partnerships that came out of that is wild.
Crazy. I know.
In At my last position, we had a what we called newsroom segment, which is kind of just like cultural
Yeah.
trends. But I led a part that was called like lit or quit. So I'm like, I'm probably going to start bringing it to LinkedIn because it was so
Oh my
good. But it
God.
was just talking about different partnerships that's like out there, like the mustard
Yeah.
Skittles. So it's
Yeah.
like, do you think this is lit or quit? Like, and then we would kind of just like deep dive into that a little bit. But yeah, the partnership space is so intriguing. And
Mhm.
I think some of them are not ideal and they're kind of like, huh? But then some of
Yeah.
them really bring two different consumers from different groups together and kind of open their eyes to a different brand or different,
Mhm.
passion point, et cetera. So I think it's just such an intriguing place. And then you add on, celebrities and influencers and entertainment, and
No.
it just becomes like a nice marriage. I also think to what I was saying like earlier of like building those connections. Yes, like you could have something that's really like buzzy and, tied up with a celebrity partner, but really thinking how can you bring that down across like all
Mhm.
aspects of the business. So like retail sales, online sales, like PR, is there an event aspect? So that
Yeah.
full 360 beyond just a partnership to me is like very exciting.
Oh, completely. And the more authentic it is to your brand and what you stand for, the better it is. We were talking too about earlier this year, we were talking about creator led brands and things like that, that we're going to see more and more. You know, there's like Chamberlain Coffee with Emma Chamberlain, and there's, I think, a pet brand coming out with another TikTok creator and another coffee brand with another
Oh
TikTok creator.
yeah.
So that space is even really cool to look into too. I'm like, trying to brainstorm ideas of like where you could go next. I feel like the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, Kennedy, I might mess up her last name, but Urich, she's actually in Austin. I
Yeah,
saw she's launching
10.
her
Yeah.
pet food. Yeah, love
So
her.
fun. I don't know
Um,
what the brand is. Is it a pet food, do you think?
I think it's toys.
Toys. Okay, yeah. She's
I'm not
awesome.
sure. She hasn't really given much yet. But
Yeah.
yeah, to your point, I think even I'm just thinking of Austin with like Jenna Palek and how
Yeah.
she's really built out her
Fun on
brand of Fun on
weekdays.
Weekdays.
Yeah.
So that is also something I've kind of started maybe toying with
Sure.
is it going more of a freelance route and working
Mhm.
with creators and helping them grow their side of the brands, managing any type of like talent aspects that they have and like continuing to like pitch them. I think the biggest thing for influencers right now is like exactly what you said. It's like extending your brand and
Mhm.
your persona beyond just social media to make it like long lasting. Like who knows if these platforms will be around or what social will look like in 5-10 years.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. And there's so much opportunity even just within Austin. I'm thinking about Waterboy, like all those
Yeah.
brands that are like based out there. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see where you land. That's awesome. What is something that you're learning during this time when you're looking for a new role? I know you must have recently found out about the layoffs. So I don't know how long you've actually been considering a new role and considering what's ahead for you, but what's something that you're kind of learning and taking with you during this time?
Yeah, so it's been a week, and I definitely took some time to just like chill, um, and just like reset. I think for the most part, it's like been back to back jobs, and it's nice to just relax and not have so many meetings and just take time to like journal of like
Right.
what does my dream career look like? Is it fully remote? Is it hybrid? Is it working for myself or a startup? So I'm taking a lot of time to just like journal and meditate and figure out kind of what's next. But I think I'm learning that you can't just like apply to a role and like hope it works out, which I think that is something that a lot of people do know and can continue working on. But it's like reach out to your contacts that you may have. If you find this dream role, reach out to like them on LinkedIn, see if you have any mutual connections. And also just don't be afraid to find time with people who you think are interesting, even if it's not the same area, that
Sure.
you're working in. So maybe like I'm chatting with people in PR, which isn't something that
Yeah.
I've really worked in that space, but who knows where that connection can go. And it's also just great to meet new people. And I think when people are reaching out to others to, try to either ask for a reference or see if they're hiring or et cetera, I think it's also important to see if there's any way that you can help them, whether now or at a later date, but don't just make it one sided. Say,
Right.
like, happy to connect you with XYZ as well. Or if you do, like, let's just say you set up time with someone and you're able to connect. And during that conversation, you find out they're really interested in, hiring someone for a certain role
Yeah.
outside of, the one you're applying for, or, they, if you're having a personal conversation, they mention like their dog and they want new dog
Right.
toys. And you're like, I just found this brand. So I think having those connections or conversations that extend just beyond you asking for something, but you being able to provide or just, talk about conversational, like not work topics, is
Yeah.
really important. Obviously depends if, it's the hiring manager or just another colleague at the company. But I think that's really important as well. It's not just like, I want to take your time and not offer any
Totally.
value on that end.
Totally, totally understand that. Yeah. And I think too, I know you mentioned it's only been a week, but I think you're also learning like that it's important to sit in the space that you're in and kind of figure it out,
Mhm.
and everything's going to work out how it's supposed to. But, what other time in your life are you going to have the time to kind of sit and really figure out exactly what you want to do? I think that's such a positive thing that can come out of something that seems so negative, like a layoff. And
Mhm.
I always love hearing from people when they don't know what's next, because I always get really excited for them, because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much ahead that you just don't even know yet. And there's so many people that you're going to meet and so many things that you're going to do, and you're going to love it. And you just have no idea yet. So it's a very exciting time. So I definitely hear that in you as well. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's so easy to maybe fall into like a negative mind space around this, right? Like I just
Sure.
lost my job, income, et cetera. But that word reframing, like that you just said, is so important. It's,
Mm.
I believe in journaling a lot. So it's like I allowed myself that sad time. And,
Yeah.
now I'm into like a reflection time of like, what is next? And I am so excited. I'm like so energized to bring that, all my experience and passion and love, to whatever is next ahead of me.
Amazing. Well, Chelsea, where can everyone find you? Follow along with what you're up to, see where you're headed next. Where can we get you online?
Yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn. So it's just like Chelsea R. Johnson. And then on Instagram as well, if anybody wants to follow my personal life. Definitely more of like a stories gal than in
Sure.
feed, but that is Chels __ Renee. And then I am, like I said, I am building a website, which is not live yet. I'm still working on that, but I'm hoping to have that done by like middle of next week. So
Okay.
website portfolio, but I will share that on LinkedIn so they can follow
Amazing.
me along there.
Yeah, and we'll link out everything in the show notes. And if the website isn't up by the time that this episode comes out, we'll update the show notes post publication, so people can keep
Oh,
up with you there. But thanks so much again
perfect. I
for
love it.
joining me. And I'm wishing you the best of luck and cheering you on. And I think you're gonna end up in a really awesome spot. So I'm excited to keep up with you.
Thank you. No, I'm super excited and thank you for having me. This was great. And I love that the resources you offer to everyone via the podcast. And I was listening to the resume
Oh
episode the
yeah.
other day and I was like, the graphics, I was like, oh, okay, like let me,
Right.
yeah, I was like, okay, good to know. I did not necessarily think about that because, you think Canva and make it nice and pretty. And I'm
Right.
like, might need to readjust this now.
I know. I took so many tips from that one too. And if you're not sure what Chelsea's talking about, it's the episode with Tim of Best Culture Solutions that we recently released, all about perfecting your resume and nailing your next interview. So totally go listen to that if you haven't yet. And Chelsea, thanks again for joining us today. This has been great.
Thank you.